Welcome to First and 30. I'm Nick.
And I'm Antonino.
We're two 30-something-year-old guys who take the best ultimate reality television show in this hemisphere, American football, through four uncensored downs of mostly unbiased opinion and some analysis.
In a game broken down into 10-yard segments, we take it with you one step at a time.
That's First and 30.
Let's go for it.
Welcome to the First and 30 podcast. This is season 2, lucky episode number 30, Antonino. Quite ironic, isn't it?
Episode 30? That means we had 30 episodes, 30 minutes each. We spent 900 whole minutes together, gang. The chain movement. I love it.
That's right. 900 minutes. Thanks for joining us for our 30th episode. This is a special one in commemoration of First and 30. There's the play on there, so we got to make this count, Antonino. I'm actually just getting back from a pretty big scouting trip. I had a pit stop in Minneapolis. I checked out the Vikings Stadium while I was there, and then I headed out to Stanford, California. The stomping grounds of Andrew Luck, Christian McCaffrey, Richard Sherman. So I was getting my scouting in order last week, hence why I was unable to be here with you.
Well done. I expect the full report, and you came just in time because the pads are on. Training camps are underway, and the pads are on, so you picked the right time to be back.
All right, man. So I'm excited. Let's get into it. What are we going to talk about today? Give me the overview. Give the chain movement the overview too.
This is the Hall of Fame episode, okay? This week we have the Hall of Fame game. Football's officially back. First down, we're going to tell you what that means. What is the Hall of Fame game? Second down, we're going to share with you the inductees that are going into the Hall of Fame. We're going to give you our 30-second halftime show, followed by third down, where we give you players that should be in the Hall of Fame and probably will be soon. And lastly, fourth down, what if there wasn't a USA Olympic football team? What if that was a thing? We're going to put that to shape for you and play around and give you a USA Olympic football team.
Cool. And then we'll wrap up with our 2-minute drill. But before we get to the 2-minute drill, let's kick off. First down, man. I'm excited for this episode because we're going to do a little history lesson, I think. So let's get right into it here on First Down and kind of discover the history of the Hall of Fame, the game itself that's going to be played this Thursday, depending on when you're listening. And then we'll preview the official start of the 2024 season with that Hall of Fame game between, who is it, the Bears and the Texans on Thursday.
That's right. I've never been so excited to watch these two teams play.
Are you actually going to watch it?
My eyes are salivating for some precious football. Please, I need it. I need it.
Well, before we even get into all of the history, I did hear right before we started recording that Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall pick, who we're all anticipating to play in this game, is actually not going to play. Him and all the Chicago starters are going to be held out of that game. What's your reaction?
Terrible. Come on now.
That
is the worst.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer. But all right, man. What do you know about the Hall of Fame? Did you know anything before we started doing a little bit of digging in this episode, like the inception of it, how it came to be?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't know too much about it except for that they inducted the players and they put the gold jackets on and they do their speeches in front of everybody. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't really know too much about the history either, so I'd be curious what our listeners knew as well. So hopefully this is a little bit of an educational lesson for everybody involved. So the Hall of Fame, it was originated and started in 1962. So way before I was born, way before you were born, and maybe before some of our listeners. I don't know. So there's been like countless renovations with the Hall of Fame over the past 60 years that have created what it is today in Canton, Ohio. Have you had the chance to go, Antonino, to Canton, Ohio and visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
No, usually when I go to the great state of Ohio, I'm going to the best place, and that's in Cincinnati. But I know that it's somewhat close to Cleveland, which is Not that great either, but you have to drive an hour south of Cleveland. So it's not exactly easy to get to. So no, I have
Yeah.
not been.
Well, I haven't either because Canton's not typically like a power destination that people are putting on their bucket list. I would only go for the Hall of Fame. But
Yeah.
dude, did you know why or why they chose Canton as like the location for the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Because I didn't know.
No, was there a special game played there or something like that?
The American Professional Football Association, which is later named, as we know today, the National Football League, NFL, it was founded in Canton on September 17th, 1920. So football originated in Canton, like the professional football that we know today started in Canton. So that's where the roots are for it. So now it's a big tourist attraction. Now it's like a big spectacle. Everybody's going to Canton now for this Hall of Fame game and to check things out.
Last year, actually, the Browns played the Jets, right?
Hmm.
6.3 million viewers watched this game. 6.3 million, most since 2018. So there's a lot of eyes that are going to be on this game from the television sets. But how about going in person? Like you know me, when I go somewhere, I'm going to look it up on Google Maps first to
Oh,
see what it's
yeah,
all about. You know, you got to see
yeah.
how many stars it is, how many reviews.
What did it get?
I looked up Canton Pro
On
Football
Google,
Hall of
like
Fame.
Google
Yes,
review?
Google Maps,
What did they
and
give it?
it had 4.7 stars,
Nice.
and it had 8,088 reviews.
Ah, nice.
So
That
it sounded like the place to be.
that meets my credentials. I have a rule. If it's below a 4.5 restaurant, anything, it's not worth my time. It needs to be above 4.5 in order for me to go check it out.
That's fair. That's fair. But to check this out again, it's an hour south of Cleveland. It's kind of a pain to get there. But if you get there, the tickets are free. The tickets
What?
are
To
free
the actual Hall of Fame.
to the actual Hall of Fame. You get
No
to see
way.
all the bus. They're open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day, even Sunday, Saturday, every day of the week, 9 a.m. to 7.
Wow.
I thought that was interesting.
Should we make a road trip this weekend and go check out Canton?
For me, that road trip might be 20, 30 hours. For
Oh,
you,
that's
maybe
right. I
not
forgot
so
you're in
much.
Florida now.
That's
It's,
right. That's right. One
it,
day, one day.
look, the last episode we recorded, we were in person together. So
Mhm.
you're still close at heart, man. So
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
that's awesome. It was interesting too. So, Canton Hall of Fame, it all started in 1962. The first game that was ever played also took place in 1962, August 11th, actually. And it was between the New York Giants and the then St. Louis Cardinals.
Hmm.
And believe it or not, man, this game ended in a 21-21 tie. What the heck are the odds of that? Like the first ever Hall of Fame game ended in a tie between these two teams. That's wild.
Yikes. I mean, hopefully we don't have another stinker like that this game coming up.
Yeah, for real. And typically an AFC team will play an NFC team in the Hall of Fame game, and usually one of the teams or both of the teams that are participating in that game have a player that is being inducted into the Hall of Fame that weekend. So it's, a big celebration, it's pageantry, it's commemorating the players of the past that represented those organizations and having this exhibition game kind of going at it to pay homage to these players that they're about to honor and induct into the Hall of Fame. So I thought that was pretty cool. Usually, I don't pick up on those sorts of things, so that was interesting to hear about.
Yeah, I think this is good that we took the time to research the Hall of Fame game because I thought to myself, does all the teams have players in the Hall of Fame? Like you got some new teams. So I did some research. The Jaguars actually have Tony Baselli in there. That's their one player.
Hmm.
And the Houston Texans, another newer team, they have Ed Reed in there, although he's known for his time in Baltimore. And the Bears of all teams have 39 players, the most of
Wow.
any NFL team.
Good for
That's
them.
nuts. Yep.
Well, hey man, you mentioned the Texans. How about we move into second down because the Texans actually do have a player that's being inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend, like a true Texan. So, how about we review here in second down all of this year's Hall of Fame inductees? So, let's highlight those guys that are now Canton bound. And the one that I was alluding to there, Andre Johnson, wide receiver. You know that you remember Andre, right? He's a seven-time Pro Bowler, two-time first team All-Pro, probably regarded as Houston's greatest player to this point in their short history.
Yeah, this guy was a freak, but it might be sad, but the only thing I first comes to mind is when he got in a fight with, I think it's Cortland Finnegan
Oh,
with
yep,
the
yep, yep.
Titans, and they ripped his helmet off and they were going at it. That's the
What?
first thing
So,
I think of.
so that's his legacy in your mind. When you think of Andre Johnson, Canton-bound Hall of Fame wide receiver, you think of, oh, he punched Cortland Finnegan in a brawl.
That's right. They ripped helmets off and they were brawling out
That's
there.
a
Yep.
shame, man. He's 11th all time in receiving yards and receptions, but your mind immediately goes to how he was a dirty guy again in fights with Cortland Finnegan.
Yeah, my fighting habits. There we go again. Yep.
Yeah. Well, he graduated from the University of Miami. He was a part of like one of that powerhouse Miami squad in the early 2000s. But there's another player being inducted in the Hall of Fame this weekend that was also a part of that Miami Hurricanes championship team, and that's Devin Hester, the kick returner.
Ooh.
I think he might be the first like true kick return, like special teams type of player that's going to be going to the Hall of Fame. Four-time Pro Bowler. He leads the NFL all-time list in returns. He has 20 total returns. That includes kick returns, punt returns, and I think like interception returns as well. So he's the highlighted leader in that statistical category.
Yeah, I would go on Madden back in the day, and I would literally do whatever it took to trade for him and get him on my team. He was like a cheat code in Madden, so fast.
Ooh.
And then if I had to say my one memory of Devin Hester, it would probably be the Super Bowl. I want to say it was like the first
Opening
kickoff of the
kickoff.
entire game. And didn't he take it to the house
He
against the
did.
Colts all the way?
Opening kickoff. He took it to the
Yeah.
house. And on your Madden point, I think he was the first player that Madden upped their speed rating because it usually capped at 99. And they're like, Devin Hester is just so fast and so elusive. We're going to give him a 100 speed rating. So I think that's a special honor for him that he got.
Yeah, I'm curious how he would do in this day and age football. I know the kickoff return kind of died here the
Mm,
past year or so, but this year they're bringing it back. Curious how he would do in today's game. Great
yeah.
player.
Yeah. Probably not as prevalent, but excellent career. And we have two pass rush specialists that are in this class. And I remember these guys growing up pretty fondly because they were just special players. And you want to say freak athlete, Julius Peppers comes to mind. Defensive end with the Carolina Panthers, spent some time with Chicago and Green Bay as well. And then counter to him, you can't talk about Julius Peppers without thinking about Dwight Freeney in the same conversation. These two were just wreaking havoc in the mid 2000s together. But Dwight Freeney, you remember him with the Colts. He was a seven-time Pro Bowler, finished his career 18th all-time in sacks, whereas Julius Peppers is right now ranked fourth all-time in sacks. So these guys were just specialists at getting to the quarterback.
Jeez, Nick, I don't know. Saying all these names, it's kind of making me sad because
Why?
I think are we getting old because all
Yes.
these players were
Yes, we
like
are.
in their prime when we were in like high school, college, like, and now they're all going to the Hall of Fame. And like we were talking about before the show, you have to be out of the league for 5 years before you're eligible.
Hmm.
And now we have all these names here, and I'm crying on the inside, Nick. Ooh.
Forever 30.
Forever 30. Yep.
Uh, so Patrick Willis is also one of these names that's going to be inducted this weekend. Really short career. He only played eight seasons in the league, but they were some of the most productive 8 seasons you'll ever see. He made the Pro Bowl 7 out of the 8, with the exclusion of the last year he was in the league when he got injured. After that season's when he retired. But dude was just a tackling machine. I mean, guy was a freak. What was your remembrance of him?
No, yeah, tackling machine. Like if you had an ESPN fantasy league where you can get tackles as a statistic, the guy had
You
like
can.
over 100 tackles
Yeah.
every single year. Like racked up the tackles. And yeah, I always thought maybe he would come back, take a year off, but he had a pretty serious injury, I believe.
Yeah. The last two guys we'll just quickly name here before we head into our half-minute halftime show. You had Randy Gradishar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. This was before my time, but he was a linebacker for that infamous Orange Crush defense that the Denver Broncos had in the late 70s and early 80s. And then you have Stephen McMichael, who is a defensive tackle for the Patriots, and he was more notably known as a part of that infamous 1985 Chicago Bears defense. So congratulations to both of those gentlemen too. But Antonino, it's our half-minute halftime show. What are we all looking at here?
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that there was a first and 30 merchandise sighting in the wild. One of our listeners, Frank from Florida, was wearing our special limited edition beanie. If you want one, let us know. They're in, and the swag is all over the streets. Follow us on First and 30 Pod. Send us a message. We look forward to hearing from you guys.
That's right. At First and 30 Pod on Facebook, Instagram, X, wherever you follow us, check us out. All right, Antonino, thanks for that. And let's head into third and long now because we're going to be a little bit more creative here and kind of forecast a little bit. Who are the guys that have not yet been inducted into the Hall of Fame that inevitably should? Maybe they've been eligible for a few years now and just haven't made the cut the past few times that they've gone through this. But who deserves a gold jacket? Who's a name that pops up in your mind that you're like, what the heck? Why are they not in?
I'm going to start off with a guy who wore stripes, and I'm not being
Oh,
biased here.
yeah, you are. You
But
are.
he's a Cincinnati Bengal, and he went by Big Willie Anderson.
Mm,
He's been eligible for 11 years now, but the past few seasons he's been knocking on the door. He's been a finalist each and every year. He has so many accolades. At one point, he had 4 straight Pro Bowls. He has 4 All-Pro honors, 3 that were actually in a row, which hasn't been done in 40 years in the NFL. So this guy was a stalwart at right tackle. He allowed, I think the statistic was 3 sacks in like 10 years, which is
what? No way. Really?
insane stuff. And he played on a struggling team, the Bengals
That's
of the
why.
90s, known as the Bungles. You know, when you think about the things that the team itself was dealing with, but you had him there, he didn't get as much attention, but I think he's getting his recognition now.
Mm,
Although the blind side tends to get more of the credit, the blind side, the left tackle
yeah.
position instead of the right tackle position. So I think that kind of hurts him here, but he's definitely deserving.
Yeah, he was close to being on that like all decades team, but you're right. The Bengals were quite putrid during the height of his career. So
Thank
pro-
you for that.
well, they were. We
Yeah.
can that's a reality. So since you're being biased and sticking with the Homer pick here, I'm also going to do the same thing. And I'm picking Darren Woodson. So he's been
Mm.
eligible now for the Hall of Fame for the 16 years. So this is a guy that's been on the ticket. He's been considered. He hasn't yet had his name called, but he should. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All Pro, and 3-time Super Bowl champion of that Cowboys dynasty of the 90s. And he leads Dallas in all-time tackles. So I I don't know how much longer you can keep leaving Darren Woodson off of the ballot list, but definitely deserving, definitely should be considered as a Hall of Famer. And I think his name will be called eventually, probably in like that senior list because they're incorporating that now where they kind of bring some of these older players onto the ballot to acknowledge the newer guys too. Did you have any others that you're thinking of? I kind of want to hear maybe one or two.
Oh, Mike Allstott. Come on, guys.
Oh,
The
there you
best
go.
fullback that ever lived.
A fullback, yeah.
Fullback. It's the position that has completely died in the NFL.
Hmm.
And we actually have a listener, Joe in Maryland. He mentioned that we could do a whole show on the art of the fullback, which I appreciate because I love the fullback position. They don't get credit, but when they're utilized the right way, they make a huge difference in the run game and they can catch. Speaking of which, Mike Allstott, the A train, he caught 13 receiving touchdowns, but he
Oh,
rushed for 58 touchdowns. The
yeah.
guy was a machine. If there's anything you remember of Mike Allstott, it was him just plowing people down. Sometimes he would wear that neck roll
Oh, yeah.
behind his helmet, and he would just go straight through ISO run all day long through the gap and just blow someone's head off. Safety, full speed, just blows his head off. He changed the position, 6-time Pro Bowler, 3 times All Pro. Get the man in the Hall of Fame.
So some hard smash mouth football, which I know you love and miss, Anthony.
Love it.
Every time you get the chance to talk about dudes hurting each other, you
I'm
jump
all
on.
about it. I'm all about it. That's what football's about, is hitting people hard.
Yeah, yeah. I have one more here. Torrey Holt, part of the greatest show on turf. When I saw his name on the list of guys that have not yet been called, my jaw dropped. I mean, the guy's been eligible for 10 years now,
Ooh.
and he was such an integral part. of that flashy greatest show on turf. And I was a fan of it because in the
Mhm.
early 2000s, I was still, malleable with my ways as a fan. The Cowboys were really bad. So the Rams were really good. And I really pivoted towards focusing on the Rams team. And I'm sure a lot of guys will admit to that too, that grew up in that age and their team struggled. Maybe you even.
Oh, oh yes, can
You're
relate.
you might have
But
been a Rams fan secretly too. But yeah, I mean, guy was a 7-time Pro Bowler, first team All Pro, Super Bowl champ. He's actually a part of the Hall of Fame's All 2000s team too. So I don't know how you put him on this All 2000s team, but you don't put him on the actual A list, you know?
get him in there. I don't understand that one either. Torrey Holt, put him in. But if you're gonna put Torrey Holt in, wide receiver, you got to put my boy Chad Johnson
Oh
in. Child,
man. You
please.
gotta put that name in there.
Ocho Cinco, put the guy in. We all love Ocho Cinco. He changed the game, changed the rule book because he did all the celebrations, changed the rule book. He's the Bengals all-time leading receiver, 38th all-time receiving yards. He actually scored a touchdown once, and one of his celebrations was putting the Hall of Fame jacket on afterwards on
He
the
jan-
sideline.
you look, he screwed himself there. He put it out like he at that point he's never gonna get inducted.
He might, but he has a long road. It's going to be one of those grinds, probably 15, 20 years of eligibility down the road.
Oh, probably. Hey, these guys will have their name called at some point, we think.
We
Just
hope so.
yeah. All right, man. It's time for fourth down, fourth and forever. So in honor of these Paris Olympics that are taking place currently, we want to take a look at some of the current players in the NFL that might be heading to Canton someday who would make a U.S. Olympic football team. And no, not football, but football, American football, that kind of thing.
The,
So,
the best football of them all. I agree.
let's go through it. Give me like your route, Mount Rushmore, and then extra bonus points, man, if you can give like an alternate Olympic sport that these guys would play if they weren't playing football, that they could compete in the Olympics.
Let's go crazy with this
Let's
one,
do
guys.
it.
NFL football and the Olympics, we have a chance to pick the team. All right. So, first up, Patty Mahomes. All right. I don't really like the
Mhm.
guy. Put him on the team. He's great. He's fun. He runs around. But if he had to do a different sport, like an Olympic sport, I would definitely say diving because he flops on the field. He kind of whines for calls here and there. I think he'd be a good diver the way he likes to fall on the ground and
Oh, I
beg the
love
refs
that,
for a
man.
flag. So
That's great.
Patrick Mahomes, you're in the Olympics, buddy boy, and you're gonna be diving.
Okay, I love that. That's awesome. That's so awesome. Let me give you my quarterback too. We'll go back and forth.
Mhm.
I picked Lamar Jackson mostly because I wanted to piss you off and get a reaction from you.
Yes.
But Lamar, I mean, two-time MVP already, and he's so young, still in his career. He has so much to play for. One of the first 1,000-yard rushers or second outside of Mike Vick. But I was looking up the list of Olympic events because I there's so many. I really needed to like take a deeper look, and I thought to myself, Lamar, he's improvisational, like he makes things up on the go. He's agile, like he makes quick breaks in his cuts and stuff. And the perfect sport popped up for me with him.
Which one?
It's breaking, which
Break-
breaking. It is literally called breaking.
Breaking.
But as us common folk know it as break dancing. Break
Break dancing.
dancing is actually an
Dang.
Olympic sport that just seems natural for Lamar. He's good at making cuts. It's
Yeah.
a lot of improving with your body and movement. So why not? Lamar
Yeah.
is a break dancer in the
Breaking.
Olympics.
Breaking. He breaks all his Baltimore Ravens fans' hearts every postseason.
There you
Breaking.
go.
That's it. You got it. That was a
Stirred it
good one,
up.
Nick. I'm proud of you. That was
All
good.
right. Who else
Uh,
you have?
let's throw on a couple more. Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the league. He scores touchdowns and he does the little dance in the end zone known as the gritty.
Mhm.
Shoot, I think he might be able to be good at fencing with his footwork. Maybe you get a little jab here and there. Maybe fencing where they got the swords, the little
Yeah.
sticks, and they poke each
He,
other.
he seems like he has the body type for it too, kind of like slender and long.
Yeah, yeah. So Justin Jefferson, fencing.
Okay, cool. My wide receiver is going to be Tyreek Hill. Super fast. I think this is obvious what he would
Mhm.
fall into. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
quote unquote athletics, which includes the 100, 200, 300-meter sprints, those races, hurdles, high jumps. I'm pretty
Um,
sure he did this in college too, if I'm not mistaken. So natural fit for Tyreek. He would be in the athletics racing type of spectrum there.
That's an easy one. Yeah, should have saw that one coming.
Hmm.
All right, Christian McCaffrey. The dude always has like a blood mark on his face, a bruise. Like he always looks beaten and battered. So I was like, you know what? I think he would be a good rugby player. I think that's just so
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Like he
He's got
likes
the
the
build.
low center of gravity and just he has the build and he's always getting banged up. I mean, we have a good football Olympic team that we're making here, and they can play
Yeah.
other sports too.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I like that. McCaffrey seems like a rugby guy. My running back's going to be Derrick Henry. I think he currently sits 36th all time in the rushing category, but for Olympic sport, I just thought of something that like requires brute force, just kind of like bludgeoning guys, like
Mhm.
beating guys, battering them. Uh, and water polo popped up in my mind because if you've
Yeah.
seen it, these guys are like punching each other under the water, dragging each other, just like bulldozing each other. That and wrestling. Like I could see Derrick Henry just like straight up manhandling his opponent in wrestling and just
If,
tossing him to the ground. So it seemed like a natural fit for him.
if I saw Derrick Henry in any sport, wrestling,
Yeah.
I would run away.
Nope. Nope.
I would
Yeah.
run away so fast. That
Tap
dude,
out before he even grabs you.
absolutely, man. We would get gold in so many events with these guys. I'll throw one more out there. Aaron Donald. I think he would unretire just to go in the weightlifting competition. The dude,
Oh,
he
okay.
is he is so strong. Like if you've seen this guy with the shirt off, he's got a six pack. And let me remind you, he's like over 300 pounds. Like the
Yeah.
dude is a weightlifting machine. I think he would crush it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw Miles Garrett in there to the weightlifting category too. He's been reported to deadlift reps of 655 pounds, and he can bench press 450 in reps. So he also has a 60-inch vertical jump. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. Um, okay, one more, man. We have a kicker, right? What about Justin
Justin
Tucker? We
Tucker,
both,
the
yeah,
best
right.
one,
Justin
the
Tucker.
best one of them all. What do you got him playing?
I have Justin Tucker doing rhythmic dancing and synchronized swimming.
Oh my gosh. I don't even
Because-
know what to say to
Well, I
that.
mean, he just looks like he'd be a rhythmic dancer. He's in the
Oh
opera,
boy.
he's into singing and stuff. So why not add a little bit of movement to the repertoire while sing the
I
opera?
I did know about the opera thing. I thought maybe he'd be a table tennis guy. You know, those kickers have too much
Ah,
time in the locker room. They usually have the table tennis. I was like maybe ping pong, table tennis type of deal, Justin Tucker. But we're getting all gold with this football team. All gold.
heck yeah, man. I love it. That was a fun segment. And I think that wraps us up. So let's hop into our 2-minute drill, man. We got 2 minutes. What's the latest news?
Big contracts are still going around. Jordan Love, 4 years, $220 million. That's $55 million a year for 8 games of good play. Continue.
Sam Williams, the Cowboys defensive end, who was going to be a big part of their plans this upcoming season, unfortunately tore his ACL the first day of training camp. Hate to hear that kind of stuff happen.
Tua down in Miami got a new deal. 4 years, 212.4 million. That's 53 million a year. Let's see if he earns that money.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb over in Dallas is looking for a new contract, but he hasn't gotten it yet, so he's holding out. He has not yet reported to training camp. Dallas is trying to work out a deal before the season starts, but we'll see.
Jabril Peppers did get his bag. He signed a 3-year, $24 million extension that could get up to $30 million with the incentives.
Yikes. Well, keep it on your calendar, man. Madden 25 releases on August 16th. If you haven't gotten your PlayStation 5 yet, Antonino, now is the time to do so.
I'm lining up. Jacoby Jones suddenly passed away a couple weeks ago at the age of 40. We do not know why he passed away, but my condolences to all the Ravens fan base and the family of Jacoby Jones.
R.I.P. R.I.P. Chargers kicker Michael Bagley tore his hamstring. It's going to be tough and difficult to kick kicks when you don't have an operating leg.
Two-time Pro Bowler, Bucks linebacker Shaq Barrett has retired, leaving the Miami linebacking core looking slim.
And Matthew Judon has not reported to the Patriots facility today. Apparently, he was in a big fight the other day.
And last but not least, we have a Maryland native, Vernon Davis. He's coming out with a new book. It's called Playing Ball. It releases August 20th. You can find it for $28.
All right, that does it for our 2-minute drill. And that also does it for episode 30 of the First and 30 podcast. Any last words, Antonino?
We'll see you on the next one. The next one is the best one.
That is right. And thank you for joining us for another episode of the First and 30 podcast. Until next time, remember, when your number is called, no matter the odds, just go for it.